Hello. This is an interview I did with Gus G on March 28th, 2018. He talks about Ozzy. He talks about his solo work. Great guitar player. Very cool interview. So check it out, guys. Thanks.
Thanks so much for calling, Gus. We've actually talked a couple times in the past. I thought the Fearless record was just a really beautiful record, Gus. I mean, you're such
Really?
a
Wow, thank you, man.
yeah. You're very welcome. I mean, you're such a very, very, very good guitar player. So why don't we start there? You're working with Dennis Ward and Will Hunt. It's a trio situation, which is something a
Correct.
little bit different for you. Obviously, Firewind had kind of the auxiliary guitars and keyboards and things. So just tell me a little bit about kind of how you got together with Dennis and Will. I know you've worked with some of those guys before, and
Yeah.
what it's been like
Yeah.
kind of working in a trio situation.
Well, it was kind of like a last-minute decision, to be honest. We made that decision around last October. Me and Dennis, we've been buddies since we go back to 2009. We started working on this project together originally, together with Bottom Row Management, and they are the guys behind bands like Halloween and Pink Cream 69 and all that stuff, and a lot of the power metal bands here in Europe. And they've been mutual friends, and we were working on putting this sort of power metal project together, like 9 years ago. And so they hooked me up with Dennis, and we started writing these songs. And the whole idea was to try and get Michael Kiske of Halloween to and put a band around him and myself and other players, and me and Dennis would write it. But anyways, to make a long story short, in 2009, obviously I auditioned for Ozzy and I got the gig. So I said, well, let's shelve this project, whatever.
Yeah.
So those guys went on and they did a band called Unisonic. And years later, I revisited those songs that I wrote with Dennis that we shelved, from that project, and I thought, wow, it sounds pretty cool. It still sounds good. Some good riffs here. So I got in touch with him again, and we decided to finish up those songs, and that eventually led to becoming the Immortals album by Firewind, which came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we got like a little bit of a songwriting team going on now, and we found our own kind of we clicked really well together. I would do the music, and Dennis did all the lyrics and vocal lines. And the next natural thing was I sent him some of my music that I was thinking to put on the new solo record. And before we knew it, we started writing songs, and we had like 6 or 7 tracks. And towards the end of the sessions, we were like, dude, what are we gonna do now? I mean, is this gonna be like another situation with guests or whoever is gonna come in? They're gonna have to sing Dennis's lines. And that's when he said, let's try and do this power trio thing. I can play bass and sing. I mean, he sounded really good on the demos. Obviously, he's a really good singer that nobody knew of. Everybody knows him as either engineer, producer, or a bass player. But so that was the whole idea behind it. He said, let's try this power trio, and it'll be something different, something for me that I've never done before. And basically, after that, it was just a task of finding the drummer. And that's where Will came in. Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, were you sort of a power trio fan kind of a guy, Gus? I mean,
I love Jimi Hendrix Experience, right? So that's like
yeah.
as old as time. So so many great power trios in rock and roll. From like I said, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Cream, Motorhead, ZZ Top, I don't know, Rush. Do I love these bands? Of course I do, yeah. I actually have always been used to having a frontman in the band. So it was a little bit weird. Like, that suggestion came a little bit as a shock to me originally. I was like, wow, and who's going to be the frontman now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Gus, go ahead.
No, it's like, for me, I've always not, in my situation, I've never just been the guitar player that stands in the corner and just steps up when it's time for the solo. I always kind of like take up space, obviously, and I do my own show on stage. So I thought, well, I'm kind of, even like in Firewind, I'm kind of like the second frontman, like me and the singer. It's kind of like Angus and Brian Johnson, kind of like that. There's like AC/DC, they have two frontmen, kind of like that. So I thought, well, maybe it's a good opportunity for me to to develop that, into this power trio, and then obviously it gives me more space since it's a solo band. And I didn't find it a bad idea at all. We tried it out on a few gigs in America last November, and it worked out well. So when we came back from that tour, I was on tour with Vinnie Moore, by the way. So, so when I came back from that tour, we decided, okay, this seems that it could work out, and Dennis went back in the studio and finished up the vocals himself.
Yeah, very cool. So from a guitar playing standpoint on the record, Gus, I mean, certainly it must be a different approach than kind of the Firewind thing. Again, there's no second guitar player, there's no keyboards. Although I think there might be some keyboards, some sequence stuff on the Fearless record.
Yeah, like some more like sounds here and there. Not really a keyboard player. Yeah.
Exactly. So what is that approach for you? Kind of going in and laying down, rhythm parts and maybe kind of the noodle parts, the little fill parts, and then solos, and then trying to be aware of, well, I've played all this stuff on the record, I now have to go out and duplicate that stuff live. So what is that approach for you?
Well, obviously in a situation like that, it's a little bit more raw. Although I wasn't scared of overdubbing stuff. I didn't go for like a live band feel on this record. I definitely overdubbed stuff. I did a couple of rhythm guitar tracks, and I did melodies where I felt I needed melodies or harmonies, and a lot of solos. I try to adapt onto that when it comes to playing them live as to the best that I can, really. I mean, it's obviously going to be slightly different, maybe with a different energy, but it's not going to be all that different. It's not like the whole record is filled with Iron Maiden twin harmonies.
Yeah, no, I got you, man.
So, there's like the occasional parts here and there, but yeah, I mean, I treat it as, I have in mind that now I'm going to go out there with being the only guitar player, but like I said, it has, what I lay down as tracks, it has to serve the song. That's how I think about it, really. And like you said, right now there's no keyboard player, there's no, it was, I don't know, I just try to do what's best for the song, basically. That's it.
I got you. I mean, your guitar playing on the record is just unbelievable, Gus. I mean, you're, such an incredibly gifted guitar player. I mean, if we think of sort of the level of guitar playing kind of in 2018, I mean, it seems like the technical skills of guitar players have risen exponentially, and you kind of see, 13-year-old girls on YouTube, blazing through Yngwie songs and, playing Steve Vai songs. I mean, it's just insane. But I mean, what that girl, I mean, I'm guessing will probably never do is write a song like Yngwie wrote, or, compose like Steve Vai did. I guess my point is, I mean, do you have any sense of that? That technical levels have sort of risen to such a high level.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like there's all these guys on YouTube, and girls, and like you say, and young kids, and yeah, like the new generation seems to be smarter. They pick up on things much faster. But then again, we have so much more technology available. We live in different times. I mean, I don't know. How old are you?
I'm very old. I'm ancient. I'm 64.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm 38, right? So here's the thing.
Wow.
Both of us have seen this, like going from I don't know, black and white TV to color TV.
Yeah.
To having everything on a cell phone now, on a smartphone, and communicating. I don't know. It's like the Wi-Fi, internet. Like that's a fucking miracle. So people like the younger generations have, they're just smarter, they're just faster, they pick up on things. I mean, when I was learning guitar, there was no YouTube and all that stuff. I had to pick up some VHS tapes with Paul Gilbert, and hopefully I would get it right, and there were some tabs, and that was it. And now, I mean, the information that is out there. So I think it's cool that, that's like a natural evolution, so I think that's a good thing, that's a great thing. Now, you made a good point. Like now, that's one thing, the technical skills and level and the proficiency. But I don't know, will these people be able to write songs? And if they're going to be able to write songs, are they going to be something unique that will resonate with a certain audience? I do not know. So we just have to wait and see.
Exactly. I mean, and again, my sense of kind of things is I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you know, again, you'll never have another Hendrix or you know, Cream.
Oh yeah, if we're talking about innovators and true originals, yeah, there will never probably be some people like somebody like Hendrix again, or somebody who will reinvent the wheel like that again.
Yeah.
I mean, the bar is constantly being raised. I guess that's what it's. These are the new inventions, or maybe, I don't know, the 8-string guitars, or wherever this is going with.
You could be right. You could be right.
Or like, you know, all these crossover things. Now, like now, there's a big, you know, an instrumental techno kind of technical scene, or gent scene, whatever.
Yeah.
They're mixing all the fusion stuff with the metal, and I don't know, maybe that's like a new thing. That's like a groundbreaking thing right now. I don't know what it's going to be in 10, 15 years. I mean, honestly, if you ask me, I'm just a very traditional heavy metal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm still part of this generation stuff, I'm just a very traditional guy. So
yeah, you know, I get it.
I still play 6-string guitars, and I love blues rock, and I love traditional rock and metal, and I listen to Schenker and Gary Moore, and those are like my influences, you know. So
yeah, that's cool, and I think that's what Ozzy, you know, what was picking up on. I mean, you know,
I guess, yeah. Maybe it's I'm a dying breed. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, we think of those guys, you know, those bluesy electric guys, and we're still listening to them. So, yeah, I don't know. You know,
I mean, that's always quality that will never go away, and that's always, you know, that's always the best rock and roll to me. That's you know, you have to go to the classics, and that's always a great influence to have, you know, listening to all those guys and trying to bring a little bit of that vibe into whatever it is you're doing, no matter how modern or new or crossover it is.
Absolutely. Along those same lines, Gus, you won the God of Riffs Award at the 2017 Metal Hammer Awards. I mean, that must have been pretty cool. I mean, an old guy like you being current. I'm kidding, man. But I mean, that must have felt cool, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was very cool that to be nominated. You know, I don't really make much of these things. You know, I don't take them too seriously, in the sense that, oh, you're the God, the true God. You know, it's like,
mm-hmm.
you know. But it's like a nice acknowledgement. You know, when it comes from, you know, the metal community. Of course, if it's a fan voted thing, it's way cooler because that's like your fans reward you. But, you know, even like Metal Hammer is such a big publication, a legendary publication, worldwide, and you know, just to be acknowledged by them with that award, it's something very special. You know, that's why when I say I don't take it seriously, I don't take it. I mean, I'm not saying I don't take seriously those acknowledgments. I do. I just don't take seriously like the titles. You know.
I understand.
Yeah, the God of Riffs. Okay, yeah, it's a cool title though. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. In the bio for the record, Gus, it had mentioned the 3 instrumental songs give listeners an idea of the outstanding talent of the 37-year-old, who is easily on a par with George Lynch, and then they have Mr. Scary in parentheses, and Michael Schenker, Into the Arena. I
don't know about that. Whoever wrote that press release, I mean, obviously he's trying to, you know, make things, hype things up and make people excited. But I don't know if I'm as good as those people. But
well, you know, I guess that was part of my question was, you know, did that, and I'm not saying that you, even if it did come from you, I don't think you're saying that you are as good as those guys or whatever. But I was just wondering, because it didn't sound like it actually, even though it's a quote, it's in quotes, in other words, I got the sense that it didn't come from you, that the person who wrote this was picking out George Lynch and that song Mr. Scary and Michael Schenker as if you kind of had to strive to play that. It was just a little weird for me. You know, I can understand mentioning, I mean, it's no big deal. I can understand mentioning George Lynch and Michael Schenker, but to pick like 2 tracks from each guy was like saying, you know, well, Gus G is going to be that good, or he's never going to be that good. It was just weird for me. I was just wondering, you know.
I don't know. Like, sometimes in press releases, you know, things can get misinterpreted like that sometimes. I believe that it was somebody at the label that was trying to hype me up and, like, saying that I'm up to par with those guys. I don't know what they were trying to say. I guess they were just excited about the record, hopefully, the label, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And again, it's such a small thing, you know.
I guess they just maybe try to say that, okay, these instrumentals, maybe they're like gonna be, they can be up to par as those iconic type of instrumentals, which is, okay, it's a nice thing, you know, of course the label has to believe in you, but yeah, I mean, I think somebody on that complained about that to me on social media. They were like, yeah, like, you're good, but it's like, you shouldn't, you know, it's sacrilege, you know, you're never going to be Schenker. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not saying I'm Schenker, you know. It's like,
oh my God, guys wrote that?
No, yeah. Like, Michael Schenker. There's only one Michael Schenker, and there's only one Gus G. So whatever, you know. It's like.
Oh my God, you know, you want to talk about the downside of the internet? I mean.
Yeah, but you know, that's what I'm saying. Things like that, you know, it's funny. Like that also triggered my interest into another thing. Like people actually maybe do still read press releases.
Yeah.
I thought nobody cares about that stuff, but yeah, I guess somebody reads, somebody's listening.
Yeah.
That's the upside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You cover the Dire Straits song "Money for Nothing." I mean, where did that come from? I mean, were you a kind of a big Dire Straits Mark Knopfler guy?
I wouldn't say I was big on Dire Straits or Mark Knopfler. I do love his guitar playing, and I do think that "Money for Nothing" is one of their best songs that they ever done. It's just one of those songs that growing up, at least here in Greece, it was like one of those songs that you saw on TV, you heard it on the radio, the video, you know, and the iconic video, obviously. And it was just a cool track, you know, man. It's like, it was one of those riffs every guitar player wanted to learn how to play. And I mean, I think "Money for Nothing" and "Brothers in Arms" are my two favorite Dire Straits songs.
Yeah, very good songs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But you know, it's like I was making like a list, I had like a short list of a possible covers EP that I was thinking of doing at some point, and that was one of the songs there. And I had some other ideas, and then I was looking around like, okay, this one, how many people have covered that song and this song and that song? And I realized that "Money for Nothing," nobody has really done any interesting covers the last few years, and then this idea came to me that maybe I should do like a half tempo, much heavier type of cover, and I just tried it out basically. I just made a little demo and came out nice, and then I suggested it to Dennis, and we basically went for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I also know that you were kind of I know "Frampton Comes Alive" was kind of a big record for you, and great guitar player, you know, and I know Pink Floyd and Eagles and Santana stuff in there. I mean, when you were back in the day when you were just a little Gus G, you know, and you were picking up the guitar, and you know, I mean, obviously you could never know that, you know, you were going to grow up into this guy who was going to play in Ozzy Osbourne's band and do all those things. But I mean, what was that sort of that motivation for you early on, Gus, you know, to kind of, you know, pick up the guitar and then kind of, you know, there's always a point where you're like, you know, you're trying to play a chord or something and you can't play a D chord cleanly or something. So I mean, what was that thing that kind of, you know, motivated you and kind of, you know, pushed you through those early walls, as it were?
I think just the love for the guitar and music, and just the records that I was hearing, and just discovering, you know, like when you're a kid, like you're like a sponge, you're just exposed to all this music through friends or whatever, or TV or radio, and it's like a lot of stuff, you know, just hitting me at once, and I just wanted to be able to play all that. And I remember the first guitar that my dad got me was a classical guitar, and I was really disappointed because I wanted to have an electric guitar and an amp to play with distortion. So I had to be patient for like another 3-4 years until my dad could afford an electric guitar. So, you know, I was playing all this, you know, I learned my first few chords on a classical guitar. And then finally, you know, when the day that I got my first guitar, which was a Fender Stratocaster, that was like, you know, that's when the heavy practicing really started. I don't know, the motivation for me was just putting on those records that I liked. If I liked a solo by Randy Rhoads or Yngwie Malmsteen or somebody, I just, like, I would set goals. Like, I had to, you know, I would lock myself in the room for a weekend or 2 weeks or whatever it was, and I would just not go outside until I learned how to play that.
Wow.
I don't know where that came from. It was just one of those things. I mean, the guitar, like after I was 14 and onwards, it was like the guitar just took up everything, like my whole time. You know, it was like going to school and then back home, and that was it. Like nothing else existed after school. You know, it was just guitar.
That's amazing. I mean, you talk about, getting a Strat as kind of your first electric, which is kind of like, I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, most guys get a first guitar as some kind of a cheap little, $89 guitar from the, where they sell groceries or something.
That first one for me was like classical, so.
Well, yeah, classical. That's true. Yeah, but
it was a very cheap classical.
Yeah, but that first electric was an actual Fender Strat.
It was a classic Floyd Rose Stratocaster. It was like one of those '90s models when Fender tried to kind of like revamp their line. And remember those Richie Sambora guitars?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So it was like a sunburst color, but it was like with a humbucker and 2 single coils and an original Floyd Rose. It was a really cool guitar. I still have it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I actually recorded the first couple of Firewind albums with it. Yeah, and back in the day, so.
That's unbelievable. I mean, did you ever have moments when you thought, oh, I'm never going to be as good as Randy Rhoads, or I'm never going to be as good as,
Yes, I've always had those moments throughout my life, from the early days and even later, and yeah. I mean, I really started questioning a lot of that again once I joined Ozzy, to be honest. I was thinking, well...
Wow.
Yeah, because it's like, you're there and you're like, well, why the hell am I here now? It's like, I love all the guitar players that were there before me, and I'm a fan and all that stuff, but I always kept thinking, like, he must have heard something, so... I was trying to kind of dissect my own playing and see what it is, like, because everybody had, like, a gimmick. That's when the whole thing started hitting, like, everybody has a gimmick, and I was like, what's my gimmick? What's my thing? So, I don't know, man. It's like, but then again, it's like trying to overanalyze things.
Yeah.
It doesn't always do you good, so eventually I had to let that go, and then just... It's it takes sometimes more effort to be relaxed and like really be in the moment and just let everything flow than do the opposite. You know what I mean?
Oh, I absolutely know what you mean. I mean, it's that, I absolutely understand, because you can never, because you are Gus G, you can never see yourself like someone else sees yourself, so, right? You're never ever going to hear that solo in an Ozzy song like somebody else's. I mean, you'll hear everything that they probably don't hear. You'll hear every single nuance, and you'll know that, oh man, I was playing that on the 14th fret, the first string. I mean, you're going to know all of that stuff, but you'll never hear it with somebody else's ears, which is kind of the kind of what you're talking about. You just have to kind of just do it and just just let it happen.
I mean, it can be a torture after some time. You're like, well, because things will never be good enough. And I remember like reading an old Gary Moore interview. I think it was in Guitar World or some magazine, I don't know. And he was saying that, well, if you get off stage, because he was also like really hard on himself.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, if I can hit like 70% of the best of my abilities, then it's been a good night for me. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Like 70%? I thought, usually you'd hear guys going like, well, yeah, we give 120% and we give it all, and then you hear someone like Gary Moore saying that, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess that somebody else is also feeling that way as well, even like one of the greats,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never think of somebody like Gary Moore being, what he's really saying is that he's still a little insecure about his playing, And,
oh, yeah.
Right. So you never would expect someone like Gary Moore to say something like that. So when you do hear it, I mean, it really,
Kind of funny. Like, I realized, like, by reading a lot of those interviews or seeing videos, like I was also seeing a Steve Vai video recently, like, I don't know, the last few years, and he was saying that it would have never crossed my mind. This would have never crossed my mind about somebody like Steve Vai. He said, I was not a natural. Like a lot of those guys were natural. Like they're guitar players that can learn something within a couple of hours, and to other guitar players that they're not natural, might take like 2 days to master a technique. And he said, I wasn't a natural. Like I really had to put in extra effort. And I mean, that comes from Mr. fucking Alien himself,
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah. I don't know, man. Everybody's different. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, I mean, obviously, that Zach is back with Ozzy. I mean, any thoughts about that? Any feelings?
No, I mean, I think it's given the fact that Ozzy's doing this farewell tour, or however they're selling it. It's a good thing that he brought back his most iconic guitar player. I mean, obviously after Randy Rhoads. I think it's a good thing that they're back together. I mean, it kind of gives me the opportunity to go back and focus on my own thing, because to be honest, the last few years I was just sitting on my ass waiting around to just find out what's going to happen, with all the Sabbath reunions and stuff. So there wasn't a lot of gigs happening the last few years, and
I mean, in the sense, Gus, that you thought that that you might be called back to play.
What's that?
In other words, you were waiting around in the sense that
Yeah, I was waiting around to see if there was going to be any gigs.
I see.
What was the schedule? Because Ozzy was busy with Sabbath for like 3 or 4 years, so we did like maybe one show in 2014, and then like 5 shows the next year. So it wasn't a whole lot happening. But still, I was like kind of like on standby. I felt like I had to be on standby, obviously, for him. And at the same time, I was doing my own band, so it was kind of hard for me to make a longer term plan for my career by not knowing what's going to happen, So I think it's a wonderful thing that Ozzy and Zach are back together. There's a lot of history there between them two. I think probably a lot of the fans would have wanted that. And like I said, it's a little bit of a relief for me to finally kind of like break free from all that, if you like, and then be able to do my own thing.
I understand. I
mean that with the best intentions, nothing like, I've had a wonderful time in Ozzy's band. I'm just saying that, it was like, the last few years was just like a lot of waiting around to see what's going to happen. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand. And again, I might be reading this wrong, Gus, but it sounds like, maybe, I mean, I would think that maybe there's a part of you that's maybe a little disappointed that Ozzy didn't give you a call and say, hey man, let's start touring again, or
honestly, I sort of expected something would happen at some point, I sort of expected it, and I wasn't so disappointed, to be honest. I think maybe some fans were more disappointed than I was. Yeah, I think other people were probably more disappointed for me than I was for me. I think I really got the most that I could out of that band from that gig, doing that gig. I don't think I could have gone any further with it. I didn't really see a new album on the horizon, and if there was going to be such an album, I didn't really get any vibes that I was going to be a part of it. So, I mean, the last that I was hearing, that was he was writing with some other people. So, it's like, I thought to myself, well, this is probably as far as you can get, and I realized that's a big band, it's a big machine, it's a big operation. There's other people that have opinions, and it didn't really bother me, really. It didn't, honestly. I was just happy that, how cool that all of this even happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and finally, about Ozzy, I mean, did you learn, obviously you learned a lot from being an Ozzy fan, but did you learn anything specifically, about, maybe, being in the studio and kind of, Oh,
yeah. I learned so much, man. It's like being in a band like that, being, or playing for an artist like him, an iconic artist. It's, obviously getting to do gigs at that level, it's a big school. It's a big learning experience, you become a better professional, a better performer. You see how everybody else around you reacts and how they work together and how they handle things. It's just like a really, really great learning experience, and and of course, just like by hanging out with Ozzy and just being like a fly on the wall, listening to his stories and stuff, it's just, there's so much cool stuff there, and funny stuff, of course. But yeah, I learned a lot, and one thing I always remember, he said, leave the gig on the stage. A lot of bands get off stage and they're like, well, you played this wrong note and we fucked up there and we did there, and it's like, he said, it's done, and that's part of rock and roll. There's fuck-ups, there's mistakes, and leave that on the stage. It happened, So that was actually some very wise words from him.
Interesting. Did you ever make any mistakes on stage, Gus? Just little.
Oh yeah, of course.
You did.
I remember one time I had this guitar that had this kill switch on there, and it was like an on-off switch. And anyway, I think we were somewhere in Norway, and we were playing a gig, and the opening track was "Bark at the Moon," and the count off, dan dan, and then like no sound, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? He turns around, he looks at me, I'm like, no sound, man. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, opening song, right? It's fucking horrible. The whole gig is already ruined. There's no guitar. My guitar tech is sweating, like running up and down, like unplugging shit, plugging in, like still no sound. And eventually I realized that I had just turned off the kill switch.
Unbelievable.
Oh man, what a fucking Spinal Tap moment. Like, sorry, 30,000 people, we're gonna try again in 5 minutes. Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah, and in that moment, trying to remember that the kill switch thing was off.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's like no way.
After that, I was like, no more fucking kill switch. Fuck all that stuff. Yeah, and the reason why I did that I did that because I was trying to emulate all the Randy Rhoads kind of kill switch he was doing with his, but he had like a Les Paul, and he would have one of the volume knobs just off, and he would just do the pickup switch, And that's why I did the kill switch, so I can emulate some of those effects, and then until it fucked up a gig, and I was like, you know what, screw that.
I mean, did you ever actually play any wrong notes or play a wrong chord or anything, or?
Oh, that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it happens,
Yeah.
I try not to make many mistakes, but yeah, of course I've done some. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the summer, but the real touring is going to start this fall. I think there's going to be some U.S. dates, then probably England, and then a longer European tour until the end of December, and then probably roll into 2019, maybe go to Asia. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening, a lot of gigs.
Wow. Would you ever do a Sabbath song?
I used to do, actually. On when I did my first solo album and I went out on my first solo tours, I had, because obviously I didn't have enough material to cover a full set, so I didn't want to do the whole album. So I would throw in some covers. I did like, I would do a Sabbath song, I would do like a Thin Lizzy track, just stuff that I really like,
What Sabbath song did you do?
I think we did Into the Void.
Huh.
Yeah.
Funny. Gus, just finally, these are questions from the readers. Mm-hmm. So these are kind of like fantasy questions, what if kind of questions.
Here we go.
Yeah, here you go, man. What is an instrument that you cannot play but would love to learn?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know, the fucking didgeridoo? I don't know.
You can save one guitar, one amp, and one pedal from a fire in order to play a gig. What do you save?
Well, obviously my Jackson guitar, and my Black Star signature amp, and a delay pedal.
Any specific one?
Yeah, I mean the Boss DD7.
Okay. What is the first record you ever bought?
Can't remember now. Maybe like the first vinyl or CD?
I mean, it sounds like they're talking about vinyl. If you can remember. If not, the first CD.
It must have been like a Doors vinyl.
Doors?
Yeah, the Doors. Yeah, I was a big fan of the Doors when I was a kid. Yeah, I still am. I love the Doors.
Incredible band. Robbie Krieger, amazing guitar player. Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
If you could play one show with any other band, which one would you join and why? This could be any band, anybody living, dead.
What a question, man. I don't know. I don't know. It would be cool to jam a song with Iron Maiden on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, Eddie's on stage, too.
That
would be a lot of fun.
It's so funny you would say that as opposed to kind of, playing rhythm guitar behind Hendrix or, you know what I mean? It's just, instead of saying something like, oh, I wish I could, I'd play with Hendrix for a night or.
Oh, it could be somebody you said somebody who could be dead as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm thinking also like who's like available now.
No, these could be guys dead, living, anything.
Oh man, come on! I mean, I would love to jam with the Beatles. Yeah.
Yeah, the Beatles.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
or the Doors.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You can take one guitar lesson from any guitarist, alive or not, alive or dead. Who would you choose?
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix for sure.
Really?
Yeah, wouldn't you?
Probably. I mean, I think it'd be. I mean, I love Blackmore. It'd be interesting to hear what he,
Yeah.
he's so unique.
It's
But yeah,
nice. I mean, why don't you just make it? Why don't you just change that to you can take lessons from 3 or 4 guitar players, alive or dead. Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe we can add a couple of more people in there in the mix. Maybe Gary Moore. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Joe Satriani. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good people out there. Yeah.
And kind of. Lastly, Gus, one song you wish you'd written. So this is a song by some other band that, I wish I'd written, Sunshine of Your Love or whatever.
Right. Oh, fuck, man.
Again, that's a tough one.
Jesus Christ. I wish I'd written Imagine by John Lennon.
Really?
Yeah, what a fucking great song that is.
I mean, I'm going to get shot for this. I mean, it was good. I thought it was.
Oh, you didn't think it was that great?
Man, I just compared, everything those guys did after the Beatles, and Lennon's writing after the Beatles just didn't do much. I just thought it was kind of corny. Obviously, I'm the only person in the world who thought that, but
I know what you mean. I mean, some of his other albums. I mean, but Imagine that album. That's a classic one. All the songs in there, in my opinion, they're great. But imagine the publishing you could have made on that song.
Oh, well, if we're talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking like in business terms. I'm like, which song would have probably sold more?
Yeah, that would be. Or
Yesterday. I mean, that's probably the most covered song of all times.
Insane. It's interesting that you would pick Imagine also because there's no guitar in there. So
no guitar at all. Just
that's pretty
piano.
cool.
I can't even play the piano. Great, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like I'm not so good with these kind of choices. Like
no, I get it, man.
One record from a fire. Like, is it save one person, your mom or your dad? I mean, I don't know what to say.
Exactly. It's kind of like Sophie's Choice. I mean, it's
yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Gus, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I wish you all the best, man, and play all the good notes. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Take care.
Thanks, Gus.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.